Oh, we gotta go over here first. There we go. Who is first
I
today?
know, I know who's first. Oh, it's Dan. Dan is first. Boom! Chakalaka. I got here first today. Yes, Dan, you are first. Miss Jen and the Birds. I always just love saying it. Jen and the Birds. I just feel like I'm announcing like a really cool rock star singer. It's Jen and the Birds. Okay. K-Heads, good to see you. You guys really watch out for that sassy Susie. She does her best, but she can get out of line. Robbie, good to see you. Thanks for coming, Robbie. Thank you. Lots of fires going on, everybody. Surround down with some protection. There's a lot of fires out there. We are quite concerned about it. Miss Renee, it's so good to see you. Present and unaccounted for. I like it. It's super cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy times, you guys. Oh, Miss Diana, good to see you. Oh, we jumped some people there.
Something jumped.
We jumped. I saw Veldon. That last one I saw is Veldon. I think it was.
I lost it.
Yes.
I see
Scott,
Scott in the
good to
house.
see you. KK. Miss
See
Zeno Morfett. All
Ron.
right, Ron.
Veldon.
There's Veldon, and it's jumping all over. Sin Havoc. Good to
Creating
see
a
you.
homestead in Colorado.
Oh, hello there. Creating a homestead in Colorado. I like that. There's a thing to that. Yes. Glad people are rolling in. It's going to be a good day. It's a happy day. Happy days are here again. Yeah, I think we got everybody. Now we should have new
Good.
people rolling in. I hope I got Elena. I hope I said Elena. There's Miss Elena. You guys
and you
and
got
Ron,
Diana.
Ron Simpson and yeah.
Yeah, Miss Diana.
Okay, got Miss Diana. Yes.
Susan.
Miss Susan Donahue, good to see you. So glad you guys could make it. Today is a very special day. It's a super special day. So just stick around and I'm going to tell you why it's so special. It's a very special day. Yep, KK. Good. Oh, you guys are all so sweet. You know what it feels like is we're all kind of running into a classroom because we were gone for the weekend and now we get to hang out again in our classroom. So
That's what it does feel like.
it does. It feels like we're all kids and we're like, hi. And we're going to tell all of our stories and everything else. It's fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Surviving life.
Thank you, K-Heads, for the birthday wishes. So, yes, I'm 61 years old today. 61. But I feel like I'm still maybe 30. I mean, do we ever really mentally age? That's the question. Because I don't feel any different.
No, we don't feel any different. We don't. And there's ER Karma Doc. Good to see you. Actually, what's really cool is Mike's birthday is today. So all the happy birthdays, I'm going to get Robbie's going to cut and paste them and he's going to put them in a thing. And I'm going to have like a digital birthday card and it's going to say happy birthdays for as long as.
Is tomorrow?
Kay Norman's tomorrow and Renee's tomorrow.
And
So
Renee's tomorrow.
yeah. And a lot of really good, cool people are having birthdays. So isn't that fun?
Yeah, it is fun. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody. We were blessed. One of our dear friends came over and babysit the flock and the pups. And Cindy and I had our first date in about 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I'd say 5 years because we did go out and do things when we had Zeke and Sassy. But since we had the bigger pups, we really haven't. We've just basically worked every day for the most part. We have traveled. Yeah, we've gone west and visited family and all. But at the same time, this was nice just to get away. And we went and saw a movie, guys. Guess what we saw, guys? What do you think?
What do you guys
Let's
think
see.
we saw?
Who
Yes.
could guess what
Yes.
movie we saw?
And if you know, don't tell. No fair. Yeah. Yes, it was exciting, Miss Zeno Morfett. It was fabulous. And yes, Renee, yes, somebody says all the cool kids are Cancer, but guess what, Renee, you're Gemini in my astrology book. So take that. All the cool kids are Geminis. Yes.
Yeah, Diana got it. Disclosure Day.
Yay.
Yes, we'll talk about that when we get towards about 2/3 of the way into this live. There's a lot of stuff. Mary
Close.
Poppins, yeah. No, it was fun, and there was only like maybe 6 people in the whole in our whole movie. That was it. Like nobody was in there, so we had the place to ourselves. It was nice.
Indeed, it was wonderful. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of really cool information in there. I thought it was well done.
Oh, it really it it hit me. It definitely hit me. It was very very provoking to me. Anyway, that was my impression. It really it resonated, and then at the very end, it made me say kind of like, "Oh, okay," confirmation of where I think they're going with all this. It's just wild times. I mean, it's just so much going on to keep up with. I did want to cover a few things. If you've gone to evolutionaryenergyarts.com in the last week or so, you probably noticed it's being totally redone. So one of our family members is really gifted. In fact, they've put together many websites, and they are helping us with this, and they're helping us with sister websites as well. And there will be merchandise available soon. So we're actually going to do evolutionary or EEARTS merchandise. Yeah, it's kind of like, it took you long enough, 9 years doing videos. 9 years you've been doing this and you haven't done any merch. I know, I know. We're kind of slow in some ways.
I mean, we're incredibly slow, honestly. I mean, we're like slower. I think most people say, or people from my era, we say you're slower than molasses in the wintertime. That's like a real saying, and it's true. Mike and I are a little bit slow, but we get there. We're just not in a hurry anymore, because when you get up in our age group, it's like, okay, there is absolutely, you can stop hurrying up just to stand in line and wait, because that's what life feels like. It's like hurry, 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 so you can hurry up and wait. That's kind of what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry anymore. And that's something that was maybe an issue for me in years past, slowing down. But when you look at the motorcycle I bought, it'll tell you I'm not in a hurry. It's a 150cc dual sport. So, that just says it all right there, because it isn't going to get anywhere too fast. But it could get kind of anywhere at the same time. So there is that. Look at this. Current clients view your ongoing sessions, manage downloads, view scheduling, update your info. This is not live, but this is part of
It
what's,
looks cool, huh?
oh my gosh, it's exciting, because the reality it is, Cindy and I, like, believe it or not, we are extremely busy every single day. We have very little free time when you really get down to it, because we do keep that busy. And it's just such a blessing to have somebody helping us in this, that can manage websites and bring us into the year 2026, which is long overdue. So much more coming along those lines. And we do also want to thank everybody for their support over at Patreon. Now, there's two ways of doing Patreon. There is a free option, which doesn't support the channel at all, but you can join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And that's something that I actually constantly get messages from Patreon about. You realize you're way underpriced compared to everybody else out there. But again, we're about the message and not the money. But yes, like everybody else, we do have bills. And we do have to pay the mortgage, all these type of things, just like everybody else. So, while we're still in this system, we have to utilize the system to hopefully get out of the system and create some alternatives. But over at Patreon, at total memberships, it's like 1,160 now. So it's grown substantially, and that's a beautiful thing. And we are very, very grateful for every one of you guys. Also grateful that at the moment there aren't any really large quakes out there. 5.2 is the biggest at the moment. But, that most definitely can change pretty quick. Here we have a 2.2. Elgin, South Carolina, my old hometown. Literally, my old hometown. 4.4 kilometers depth. I guarantee you they are enlarging Fort Jackson's underground military base area. That's what I think that is. And so we have a little break for today from earthquakes, but there's a lot of other things that we're not really having breaks from.
Right. There's still some, very concerning to me. It's very concerning with a lot of the earth changes that are going on, continuing to move forward and be very, very destructive, as Venezuela just, yeah, oh my gosh, the tolls climb and climb. And it is so horrible just to think about all the pain and agony these folks are going through with these buildings that are just collapsing on top of themselves like pancakes. And I just, it's really hard to think about it, but my gosh, I am here bothered to think about it. I can't imagine those that are going through it, and I know that the guides and angels, they're rescuing people as they can, and they're getting people's attention as they can, showing the dogs where to go, where to sniff, telling people where to look, when to turn your head, look over here, take another step over there. I know the guides and angels, they are very busy doing the best they can to help people find their way out of it. But things are still continuing to get weirder and weirder with our environment. And I think this is a time where we need to be very mindful. We did a video this morning on Heart's Home. And, it was basically July energies. And we pulled from all the different modalities that we utilize to do the readings, with Mike's card readings and astrology. I pulled from astrology with what is called a Varshafala that talks about the solar year of the United States, and also just Mike's remote viewing. And we took all of that and we pulled it together into a July energy update. And it, there is reason for concern right now. It's really hot on many levels.
Yeah, and this is it. By the way, again, Heart's Home is the newest channel. It has just 3,000 subscribers. And so this was 33 minutes long. And I thought it was very, very, I hope it came across well because it felt good. It felt really good, felt very complete. There was a lot coming through this morning. I felt very, very sharp. And it was a very good day. So if you haven't subscribed to Heart's Home, please do. We do appreciate it. That's, again, the more spiritual side of things. This is some wild looking energy here. Again, HARP. Yeah, CERN is going to close down for 4 years, or at least that's what they're telling us. But HARP, very active. And again, there's more than one HARP location. There very well could be dozens of Large Hadron Colliders for all we know. With all the black ops money that has been spent, oh yeah, there's so much they don't tell us. Again, presidents aren't even on the need to know priority list. That's the reality. Schumann resonance today, power 44. As you can see, we've had some serious whiteouts there. A little bit less at the moment. But again, the consciousness of the planet is changing. Meanwhile, in Idaho, this is June 28th. Look at this. That looks like you're going through, Alaska or something.
That definitely looks like one of those frozen lakes that I've flown over in Alaska. I mean, my gosh, that looks scary. Just like some ice with cracks in it that's really wavy and very cold if you have to get out.
Hail and ice rivers. We're going to be in July. Yeah, pretty wild. This person says, since we lived in Idaho, we've had wet weather in June. What was not normal was 1,000 lightning strikes 2 years ago that caused massive wildfires. It's crazy out there, but we're going to a new place. Meridian, Idaho. Do you know where that is, sweet? Meridian?
Part of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, look at that. That's
pretty cool.
That looks brutal. It looks like December type weather. Maybe March, but it's June 28th.
I was in Alaska, Idaho, northern Idaho, And because it is cold up there like Alaska. But anyhow, northern Idaho, July 4th, I do remember snow falling from the sky, but I've never seen anything like this. This is absolutely crazy, the amount of snow and ice that's on the ground there.
Oh, Mary D, good to see you, sweetie. Just outside of Chicago is a mini CERN. Yeah, and like Diana says, it might be closing, but coming back 10 times stronger. Yeah, it could be like a major upgrade going on. How about lava flowing in Mount Etna? There's a lot of things that are pointing to really major Earth changes. I think, again, a lot of what we've seen up to this point has been artificially enhanced, let's say, technologically enhanced. But the real Earth changes, they are getting ready to start in earnest. There's many psychics out there, very gifted individuals that are all getting the same message. And when you have many people giving you the exact same details and what they see, what they're feeling, is just like fits like a glove, then you know it's definitely it's time.
Yeah, definitely things are ramping up.
They sure are. Seismic activity, yep, volcanic activity. Every week it seems like there's 4 or 5 new ones coming online. And then we got the fires. Terrifying. Utah Governor Cox issues apocalyptic warning as the Cottonwood fire obliterates over 100,000 acres. He reveals trees are secretly dying inside and have become literal Roman candles just waiting to be hit. What the heck? Well, I've seen a lot of what I think is related to, honestly, some of the spraying in the sky that makes things far worse. I think there's a lot of things contributing to this.
Good evening, Jarika. At least a dozen new fires erupted overnight in Utah. The Cottonwood fire started earlier in the week, and it scorched nearly 100,000 acres. Flames racing across the Utah mountainside, embers carried by powerful winds toward homes below. Overnight, the Cottonwood fire exploded, tearing through the Eagle Point ski resort, forcing more communities to evacuate.
From my front yard, I can see this mountain here smoldering. It's a little bit concerning with the high winds coming in.
Utah's governor calls it the most destructive wildfire in state history for property loss.
Those trees there, they look the same as they've looked every other year, but they're not. They're dying inside. They're Roman candles just waiting to be lit.
Good evening, Jarika. At least a dozen new fires.
Yeah, so you got to ask yourself, is this a byproduct of all the chemtrails? I mean, seriously, is this a byproduct of all these programs that go on? Even when certain states, again, have made laws against spraying, it's still happening.
It is, it's just like all they did was move things up higher. so that it's going on above the clouds, if it's a clear day, you're going to see it. If it's a normal looking cloudy day, well, they're just going to move it up higher and, make it legal. So really, I mean, whatever is in charge is, we never vote for them. We never voted them in office. We don't even know their names. We don't know what their faces look like, but they are running this world, and it is frightening.
Oh, Dan says Butte fire 15 miles north was within half a mile of the Pinyon Plain uranium mine. Yeah, I'm not sure what would happen there. It doesn't sound like it'd be anything good. Snyder fire burns more than 28,000 acres along the Utah-Colorado border. In fact, there is a lot of fires going on. The Governor Polis, mourns the loss of wildland firefighters, authorizes Colorado National Guard for extraction efforts. Okay, so you see what's going on here. Can you imagine if we got hit with Cascadia, San Andreas, and the New Madrid? I meant to put this in, but we were doing so many different things today. Interesting. 1811, 1812 is when the New Madrid went. And at the same time, there was also, coincidentally, or a sign of what's to come, a pair of earthquakes very similar to what we just had in Venezuela, that also had similar damage. Is this just a coincidence? Because I gotta say, I think the likelihood is pretty high that we may have the big ones either this year or next year. It does feel like either this summer or next summer, by the end of next summer, we'll see some major activity. Not that we haven't already, because we have. I mean, we've had an 8.8 in Kamchatka. That was enormous. We had one again in Thailand, and we've had them all over the place. It's just been crazy.
It really has. It's been nuts. Dan says Noah's been down all day. You know, that's curious as well. Aw, KK, thank you. Happy birthday. Love you both. Thank you, KK. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate all the happy birthdays and the thank yous. And it's been just a wonderful day. And this really tops it off to be able to spend it with you guys tonight. So thanks for everything.
So I wanted to show as just bring this up because this to me, again, if it happened in the past a certain way, because of the interconnectivity of the plates, and thank you, dear KK. Again, what would we do without you, KK? I have no idea what we would do without you. Not at all. 1811, 1812, New Madrid earthquakes, a series of intense intraplate seismic events that remain the most powerful earthquakes recorded in the contiguous U.S. east of the Rocky Mountains. It occurred between December 16, 1811 and February 7, 1812. The sequence included at least 3 major shocks, with moment magnitudes estimated between 7.0 and 8.6. Again, 8.6 in that area with the structure, the bedrock that's there, you know, the craton. Holy crap. That would be devastating. And thank you, Robbie. And I saw that you said something was in the mail. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Robbie. Says Mike, my brother from another mother, happy birthday. Keep dancing to the beat of your own drum and keep singing and dancing in the rain. Absolutely. That's one thing this guy does. You know, he's goes to the beat of his own drummer. That's for sure.
Yes, and some people say he's just crazy. So the initial event, December 16th, 1811, magnitude 7.2 to 8.2, followed by a 7.4 aftershock hours later. And then subsequent major quakes struck on January 23rd, 1812, a magnitude 7.0 to 8.0, and February 7th, 1812, somewhere between a 7.4 and 8.6, right? 1811 through 1812. 1812, Caracas, Venezuela earthquake struck on March 26th. Wow, this was estimated at 7.7. We just had a 7.5 and a 7.2. So pretty much in the same range as, you know, pretty much when you're talking 7.5. This quake devastated Caracas, Merida, and other cities. They estimate anywhere from 2,000 to 30,000 people, unfortunately, were victims. So basically the same year as the New Madrid going off. Does this mean that there's a chance that the New Madrid could go off this year? I would say yes. I would think so, looking at everything. And then, by the way, looking at everything, take a look at this map. This is the current wildfire map for the U.S., and you can see part of Canada there. The West, you know, it's going. Yeah, there's a small fire over here in North Carolina, another one over in Florida. But when we look to New Mexico, you have several going on, quite a few going through Arizona, there by Los Angeles, and then Utah. All you can see is the A and the H in Utah. That's pretty covered there.
It is. And thank you, ER Karmadoc. We appreciate that. Happy birthday, neighbor. I love it.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you the birthday present that I got while mowing the front lawn, guys.
Oh my gosh.
This was 2 days ago. I didn't even want to talk about it yesterday because I didn't really feel good. But we still did the live yesterday. I had forgotten that there was a major hive of yellow jackets over by a bush. Well, I was just trying to get as much cut early in the morning before things got hot and we had to go get to work. And I disturbed them and I was swarmed by yellow jackets. And so I got at least 6 stings. And it really sucked because, man, they hurt.
Well, we pulled him into triage and we got him treated right away. But if Karma Doc was here, she would have been better than me because I was running around panicking, because those things hurt. Those yellow jackets, they hurt. And he got a couple in his hand. And oh my gosh, if there's a body part that hurts worse, it's like the fingers and probably the toes. So it was a rough day the other day.
Yeah, I got stung twice on the right hand, stung twice on the right foot. And then like around the left knee and a couple other places right on top of the head too. Man, those things hurt worse than most things out there, honestly. Been bitten by a lot of bees or stung by a lot of bees. But these particular like hornets, wow, they're just vicious. And when they swarm, oh, that's one of the worst things you can imagine. When they're all over you. They followed me for like 40 feet around the backyard. They wouldn't let go.
Yeah, oh yeah, we hit them, and these stings, they don't seem to, the healing energy. Well, I'm sure it helps at some level, but oh my gosh, the pain was just horrible. It was terrible, and it just kept going. I got stung by one of those suckers, and it hurt for like 24 hours. It was right in my thumb. And it's nonstop. It feels like somebody's hitting you with a nail, just bang, bang, bang. It was awful. And poor Mike, he got 6 or something like that.
Yeah, and it does last. I mean, it's still hurting today, but it's not throbbing. I mean, it was throbbing like the worst toothache you can imagine for probably 24, 30 hours, somewhere in there. But yes, we could see there's a lot of fires up in Canada going on as well. So, absolutely. This is a very serious fire season that's really just getting kind of underway. When we look in, and you can see, we know where you are, Dan, and you can see the fire ongoing over there. And then a lot of our family members are in, Utah as well. We have a bunch of you guys in Utah as well. And then over here in New Mexico, again, a few in Colorado too. We're sending our prayers and best intentions for everybody in those areas. By the way, and there probably was even more than I saw than this, but man, this is really crazy. We have 14 people killed at least. A Aramco helicopter crashes in Saudi Arabia. A helicopter belonging to Aramco, the world's largest oil company, crashed in Saudi Arabia with at least 14 people. This accident occurred around 6 a.m. local time. All the people killed were Saudi nationals. The Saudi Ministry of Energy said everybody on board the chopper died. No further information given about what caused the crash. Was it war related? Was it sabotage related? I don't know. They don't have any answers. We've had so many helicopter and plane crashes, but wait, there's more. Skydiving plane crash. This is not the one we talked about like a week ago. This is another one. Skydiving plane crashes near Nancy as 11 killed in a tragedy, including nurses. This skydiving trip crashed in Tomblain near Nancy in France this morning. 11 people have been killed. It occurred moments after the plane had taken off. Local reports suggest there was a risk the plane could explode after the crash. Authorities have now confirmed the death toll is 11. Victims have not been identified yet. Some of the people on board were nurses on their first skydiving trip. This is really weird. Another plane snaps in half after crash landing. Pilot miraculously walks away. This was in Poland. during a test flight. So a twin-engine turboprop strikes the runway hard in Poland, causing the nose section of the fuselage to dip sharply. The airplane bounced before skidding several yards and eventually came to a halt with dust and smoke rising to the air. So landing gear failed to deploy during a test flight. It's just wild, all the issues with planes.
It is. It's crazy. And thank you so much, Miss Diana. Happy return around the sun, Mike. Thank you for being you. Thank you so much, Diana.
Thank you, Diana. We appreciate you and everybody that's been with us all these years. Well, they did it. The Serbian people just forced their president to resign. Why? Because he wanted to approve and push through Jared Kushner's luxury Trump hotel project in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. Well, it used to be, whenever I hear Belgrade, I think Yugoslavia. Because it was Yugoslavia when I grew up as a kid. Now, of course, it's broken up into smaller pieces. Probably 10 years from now, there'll be a whole bunch of changes on the map. Guarantee you that. Serbian President Alexander Vučić announced on June 27, 2026 that he's going to resign within weeks. Now, the thing that's interesting is he's the guy that I had told Cindy about a prophecy given by our boy. Alois Ermeiler. Alois Ermeiler died like way back in 59-60. He was a wonderful person, very gifted psychic. He was very much like Krzysztof Tchaikovsky back in that era. He had said that World War III would start with 3 assassinations, right? One of the 3 people I was pretty convinced was this guy. So does this mean that we're on a different timeline? Maybe. Again, I think we are changing to more positive timelines all the time. I think if we were on one of the worst timelines, we already would have had a direct confrontation between the U.S., China, and Russia. He's stepping down within weeks, so he's still technically there right now. And call early presidential and parliamentary elections following 18 months of student-led anti-government protest. This has worked. The protests work. He's stepping down. So again, we need to very, very much let people know, let the system know when we're not happy. And, if we just will stick to our guns and, not be quiet, do the opposite, we can affect change. This is really pretty wild. There still is the outside chance that something could happen to him, or possibly to the person that's coming in after him. The reason why I thought that was because this is the area that the psychic saw the third and final assassination happen, because he said there would be 3 big noticeable assassinations, and then it would kick off with direct confrontation between the BRICS nations and the NATO nations. So I hope this is actually the will of the people. And again, just give them your mind. Speak your piece. When we're not happy, you let them know it. And this worked. So this is a positive thing in my mind. Of course, it depends on who replaces them.
Yeah, there's always the replacement factor, but it does send something. It sends a message to say, hey, we are on board and we are watching, we're paying attention, and we're not going to handle this. And if you come in and try to do it, we'll do the same thing to you. So I like it. It's a message. How effective is it going to be? That remains to be seen.
There's multiple psychics too, because I noticed a conversation there in the chat room talking about gas masks. And there are a few psychics seeing something like the need for gas masks or something like that. There's going to be something toxic released, although, it seems that it would be in specific areas. One psychic was seeing some sort of eruption off the coast of Japan that literally would necessitate, because of toxic fumes being released, the use of some protection as far as that goes. When it comes to Alois Ermeiler, he was talking about some sort of powdery substance being dispersed throughout Europe that would be toxic and would cause a lot of fatalities. Meanwhile, the Iranian talks are on hold after fighting breaks out and Trump once again threatens annihilation. Talks to end the Iran war are reportedly on hold after the U.S. struck Iranian military targets in retaliation for Tehran's strikes on shipping vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump said the U.S. may be forced to militarily complete the job that we were very successfully starting, adding that Iran will no longer exist if that happens. The Polish psychic Krzysztof Tchaikovsky has seen that there will be a much bigger strike by either Israel by itself or Israel and the U.S. That will cause a huge uproar in the Middle East and escalate things. I think things are going to get very, very hot as we go farther into summer and into the fall. Unfortunately. Baghdad's green zone locked down as officials arrested in a corruption sweep beyond Sunday's Iranian drone and missile attacks targeting Bahrain and Kuwait, launched in response to earlier U.S. airstrikes. Hormuz shipping traffic remains stable, but well below last week's peak, where 57 vessels transited the strait on Wednesday. Again, what this is doing is going to make it so, again, real shortages will be taking place. We again are at a very low point with the amount of reserves that we have in this country compared to what we typically do have. Other places are much worse off than us. And for the third time, Italy has refused to allow U.S. aircraft to use its Sicilian air base to transport weapons in the war with Iran. In fact, you have Giorgia Meloni here accusing Israel of crossing the red line. She condemns the massacre of Palestinian civilians and announces that Italy will support European sanctions against Israel. So we could see that old alliances are starting to fall apart. Brazil has expelled the Israeli ambassador. Again, Brazil is the B in BRICS. And then we're looking at the AI boom. What's it doing? It risks global financial crash. So warns the central bankers. This is all tied in together. The ultimate goal of that financial crash that's coming is to give us a digital system where they could shut us down at any time. Where, if you want to go buy a new grill for the backyard, you got to go get approval from your bank. I mean, you have a repair that needs to be done on your car, and it costs whatever, $500. You're going to have to go get an okay to take money to go pay for basic things. This is what they want. Total, absolute control. Once they take something, they never give it back. So we cannot allow them to do that.
No, and for the new cars, it's already too late. I mean, the technology is in there. It's already reported, and if you want anything to be changed, it has to be approved. And in order to change anything, you have to submit a form, and then it takes like a week to approve it to see if you can have some things in your car that are AI dissolved or changed or mitigated. And no, it's a mess. They're going to have it to where if you overspend or if you get a bad social credit score, like Mike and I will have a bad social credit score, we're not going to be able to drive anywhere, if we have a new vehicle, but we're not going to do that. We'll go to horses if we have to. I won't buy one of those new vehicles. I will drag it out for as long as I need to, and drive on little mopeds or bicycles, do it. I have my boundaries. I set up my boundaries a long time ago, and I'm not going to, just it's a mess out there, and there it is total and absolute control from how much water you drink every day to how much oxygen you smell, and it's already going through. So yeah, I mean, it's important to not allow it, but we've already allowed it. That 2027 is a done deal with the cars.
And talking about that tech, a city in Oregon was forced to permanently remove its flock cameras after an audit found federal agencies had access to the system. The audit revealed that 2 federal agencies could access all the data, including the ability to search the broader network of license plate records for up to 6 months. Flock cameras are used as mass surveillance tool under the guise of public safety. Yeah, no, this is, again, ultimately, this is the reality. Unfortunately, it's not public safety. It's more, again, often about money making and controlling. Just to tell you where like Cindy's mind was, we were looking at Facebook Marketplace. You know what vehicle caught her eye the most? A 1987 Suzuki Samurai. Yeah. Oh, you remember those things? Those things were fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Again, the old days. How could you beat like the old days when things were so simple? Boy, I sound old, but then what the hell? It's my birthday.
Well, I think there's something to that. We come from a time where refrigerators lasted a long time, washers and dryers lasted a long time. Everything now has like this predestined death date. And what's up with that? I was even talking to someone about the calendars. Like I have calendar handicap. It's very difficult for me to keep a calendar, but anyhow, I had to switch from our old calendar to a new calendar because the old calendar stopped in June of 2026. Why? Why? I had to go buy a whole new calendar and then, flip all the pages to July 2026 and transfer everything. That was just the dumbest thing. I mean, did somebody else know something? Like, do they think that we're not going to go on for next month or until the end of the year? Why make a calendar like that? It's driving me nuts.
Former Air Force engineer in Virginia has been arrested after he allegedly damaged and destroyed over a dozen flock cameras. When asked why, he said flock cams were unconstitutional and a violation of mine and others' Fourth Amendment rights. He allegedly tossed them off the major highways where they shattered. Police caught the former engineer by using the very flock cams he was destroying to track him down. Again, there's a revolution brewing. This revolution's real, and it's going to sweep the entire world. Some places more than others, though.
Yeah, some places more than others. I think it's very interesting times for sure.
Oh, it sure is. Dan was saying he was talking about activated charcoal. I think that's a must, and that's something I'm not sure how much we have. I know we do have some. He was telling you how to make activated charcoal. Okay, to make activated charcoal, you need 3 things: lemon juice, hardwood. Fire-activated charcoal is the only thing that will save you in a chemical attack or any airborne problem. It's knowing these things that's going to be so valuable. So valuable. And, again, thank you, Dan, for sharing that.
It's very helpful. You never know who might need it or who's going to remember it in a disaster.
And then you have this I'm very, very concerned with speaking too much about, but what they're talking about is the opportunity for certain predators.
They're talking about helping children.
Yeah, they're talking about helping children. Think about this. No, Venezuela, well, what you mean in the old days? Yeah, the Haiti thing. It was Haiti, yeah. Again, there's been so many rumors, but think of all those wild rumors that end up being proven true with Hurricane Harvey, with Hurricane Katrina, with Haiti, that earthquake in Haiti. Just think about Venezuela right now, what a mess it is there. People could disappear. They have 40,000 people missing, something crazy like that. You get the picture. So we're worried about the little ones. And, again, there are this class of beings on this planet that are very, very predatorial. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, we have to leave it at that. You guys know, you guys are picking up what we're putting down. You've been with us long enough. We have to talk in code, and luckily you guys get it. But, we're saying that just to get the word out there, protect our children and not the way that they are doing it.
What I've been sharing is my feeling as I look at an adorable deer staring me right in the eyes. We have so many deer here. Our yard is like a safe zone for them, so they kind of stay here. Sometimes they stay in the backyard. They're on our side of the fence, but they could jump the fence. They jump a 4 and 5 foot fence like nothing. But sometimes they'll let Rama get to maybe 20 feet of them before they go and jump the fence. They feel pretty secure. This is Marco Rubio, and this is what I've been feeling. I feel like there's an agreement that may or may not be held to. And it is, in my mind, a shift a little bit away from the worst timelines, because in some of the worst timelines, I feel there was even the possibility of back when the first election, when Trump got in, that if Hillary had gotten in, we would have done a lot of this already. I really think WW3 would have probably already been well underway, if not all totally done by this point in time. But here he is talking about, hey, the Western Hemisphere, that's ours.
Need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry.
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies?
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela in 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Let's talk big picture.
So, yeah, again, this feels very much like what we were talking about with the Monroe Doctrine. It does feel like there's agreements in place. Now, they may not stay in place, not at all. And then we have this, and this is a much longer piece with Rand Paul. I think I bumped the speed up on this. Yeah, I did. Let's just listen to a little bit about this.
Joining me now with more is the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Senator Rand Paul, who has issued a subpoena for Fauci to appear before Congress. And Senator, thank you very much for joining me this morning. I want to start off with you telling us what you've learned. Frame the story here. What have you learned about Anthony Fauci's role in COVID-19?
Well, the investigation of COVID origins has been going on for several years. The Biden administration stymied us and wouldn't give us any of the documents. The Trump administration has been very cooperative, particularly Secretary Kennedy. They've turned over virtually everything. And what we now know beyond a reasonable doubt is that Anthony Fauci did indeed fund gain-of-function research. We have the evidence that the experiments were gaining in function. The viruses were becoming more lethal, more attachable to human cells, and more infectious. We do know that this was going on, that was funded by the NIH, specifically under the tutelage of Anthony Fauci. We know all of that, but we know even more now. We know that the initial estimate by the scientists at the CIA was that this came from the lab. They agreed with our supposition, but Anthony Fauci was able to coerce, cajole, persuade, and dangle money to get people in the intelligence community to change their vote. So a scientific commission within the CIA voted 6-1 to say it came from the lab. He somehow was able to get that change. We have evidence of that happening. The virologists that he handpicked that were big recipients of federal dollars, all of them initially were saying it looks like it was manipulated. The virus looks manipulated. He was able to convince them otherwise. We now have evidence that in January of 2020, that he was already acknowledging that the virus did not come from the wet market, that the wet market was a spreader event, but wasn't an initial event because we had lineages of people way before the wet market that were getting sick. Everyone acknowledged that, but for years he's been telling us it came from animals at the wet market. This was all misdirection. This was a conspiracy. This was a cover-up, and he has not really gotten his just desserts on this, and we want to make sure that the American public and that history records that he was involved with funding this dangerous research that led to a pandemic that killed 15 million people. There needs to be repercussions.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. So 7:29 at 10 a.m. We'll see what comes of it. Again, he's gone before different Congress panels many times, and nothing's ever happened. They got to show us something different, something real. And, again, the people should not sit still until true justice is served. And, I can't see a world in which Anthony Fauci and also that Gil Bates character and many others, Albert Bourla, Jacinda Ardern. I mean, we could go to Trudeau. We could go on down the line. These people that all of a sudden now, a lot of them are disappearing into the shadows and the woodwork. No, there has to be justice.
Yeah, that, keep pushing. I'll stay hopeful, even though I'm frustrated. I'm extremely frustrated at how close things come to getting some type of acknowledgement and then, backs away. It's like I've heard people throw a big fit, but then nothing really happens. I've seen some horrendous things happen to other beings, particularly children, and then, it just kind of gets brushed away and nothing happens. Yet we're all still, if you get a ticket for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, well, you have to follow the law. I mean, of course, we're not going to recommend that anyone break laws here, but it just seems a little bit weird at the top at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So the missing half of the U.S. national debt's been identified. The Federal Reserve confirms the U.S. Congress has built the single largest racket empire on the planet. U.S. NGOs have a combined assets totaling $14.2 trillion of your tax money. India and Japan's GDPs are each over $4 trillion. Germany's is $5 trillion. Together, they total $13.5 trillion. Guess what? The combined assets of U.S. NGOs equals $14.2 trillion of your tax money and our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. In other words, the root of all corruption, the racket, U.S. Congress has racketed half of the U.S. national debt to the planet's most profitable organizations. This is just money laundering. These are all crime syndicates. They are all crime syndicates. It's like, what character in The Sopranos do you like? Do you like any? How good do you like any of them? They're all disgusting, vile beings. But that's the way these governments are. They're just loaded with disgusting, vile beings.
But that's what it takes, I guess, to have that kind of money. It's just wrong.
It is all going to crash. It's, again, I do agree. This is the beginning part of it. Cars exploding across Israel. Iranian agents have penetrated the heart of Israel. Multiple assassinations taking place. Well, I remember the shoes that were exploding that Israel had done. Again, you could say turnabout is fair play, etc. And there's no love lost in war, that's for sure. This is definitely escalating. And this is talking about the U.S. using weapons never seen before in Iran. Second burst of Schumann resonance, now 2 consecutive earthquakes of 5.8 and 6.0 occurred in Iran. People are putting it together. They're really putting it together. There's technology out there that's way more advanced than most people realize. This is Steve Banoun, and he's from Israeli News Live. If you're not familiar with Steve, he's been out there for many years. Again, a lot of times I'd say, most of the time I haven't seen things eye to eye with him. But it feels to me like he's been awakening more and more all the time. This is what's happening. People are wakening up and they're recognizing things like using religion as a tool to make money, to make profits, and utilizing it to finagle people into doing things that they wouldn't normally do. Yeah, it goes all the way back to saying, well, again, in Genesis, God gave us this land. It includes all of Lebanon, Syria, parts of Iraq, parts of Egypt, parts of Turkey even. Again, many different nations, and we're watching that manifest right now. Again, utilizing religion as a reason why you're going to take over other people's land, because the other people have been there. And again, Israel didn't exist from 70 AD until 1948. And it was birthed to life by, again, a Rothschild and the UN. But here you go. Steve is saying, what technology did aliens give Iran? Oh, yeah. See, this is it. Now people are waking up and understanding. Still, you have a lot of people that can't come fully on board and say that there's extraterrestrials. And when you say extraterrestrial, you could look at it like they're terrestrials from an extra part of the earth as well. Again, I do think there are beings that live in areas that we're not allowed to even know about. Who knows who else is down there in Antarctica? I mean, gosh, you're not allowed to go to Antarctica. I'm not allowed to go to Antarctica. Again, you do see random trips by very, very high-profile people, though, especially when we were talking 2015, 2016. It was just bizarre. The Pope goes down there. The head of the Eastern Orthodox Church went down there. I think it was John Kerry went down there. Obama went down there. Why did they all go down there? I'll tell you why. They were meeting with perhaps the last Ijiji that was literally here on Earth. That sounds crazy. Wait a minute. The Ijiji? Isn't that the ones that rebelled against the Anunnaki? Yeah, and that's why humans were supposedly brought into being as a slave race. Well, again, what's coming out now is the realization we've never been alone. The wars of the gods occurred in the past. Every nation, every tribe has talked about those wars of the gods. We saw it. We witnessed it. And go to Nuremberg, the Battle of Nuremberg in 1561. It was immortalized. People did wood cuttings and paintings about it. They talked about it. They saw warfare between motherships and drones, literally shooting each other out of the sky. That war has never stopped. It's been a truce. There's been some sort of truce, and it hasn't been openly happening in the skies above us. But now that it's the Bronze Age, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it out in the open. I wouldn't be surprised if they even recruit our kids, our youth, to join them to battle the bad ETs. I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, let's battle the baddies.
But the baddies are the ones that have been in control. Yes, plasma technology, all sorts of weaponry, and who gave it to Iran? Well, when you, again, look at it, when we see the word Elohim and the word Anunnaki, it really is referencing beings with more technology than us. That's really all it's talking about. When we look to Deuteronomy 32:8 and we look over at Plato's Critias and we see more detail, and I know you guys that watch us all the time, you're probably tired of me talking about it, but this is everything. This is where, like little kernels of truth in the Bible, you can expand on in the book of Enoch, but you can expand even more going to the Sumerian stories, and even more yet when you start bringing in the Native American, the Australian Aboriginal, the different tribes down in Africa. They will all tell you that there are many different beings out there with advanced technology, and there's been many wars between them. Are humans just proxies in this war? Like right now, you could look at it and say there's a proxy war going on right now, and there has been. Ukraine is basically a proxy war because it's NATO fighting BRICS. Well, NATO fighting Russia, part of BRICS. And then again, Israel and Iran, it's the same thing again. It's, NATO against the BRICS nations. But Does NATO perhaps represent a different group of ETs than what the BRICS nations are being supported by? Are different nations supported by different ETs? Now that's a good question in my mind.
Well, I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys think? I mean, just look at it. When you look at flags and banners of different nations, you'll see there's many that have an eagle, and there's others that might have a dragon or a snake. Could this be representing two different factions that are sometimes at war with each other? Well, who does that really mean then when we're talking about the eagle and the snake? That's something that many people have talked about, and they could bring it back down to Enlil versus Enki in many circumstances. But when we're talking Enlil and Enki, for instance, even though they're both given to us as if they're brothers, doesn't necessarily mean they're the same species.
Yeah, I think that's really important to recognize those differences and look at them. They come from somewhere. They come from somewhere in our realm, in our history, in the world that we live in. I think a lot of these stories that are passed down are not exactly probably not even remotely as that they are told, but they have meaning, they have purpose, and that's what we need to look in our lives. We need to find that purpose. Like, why do they say what they say? Why do they say, one is feathered and one has scales? What does that really mean? Is that referencing something else, or is it really birds and snakes? Or, are we looking at air and earth? What does that mean?
Deuteronomy 32:8 describes the Most High, El Elohim, El Elyon, assigning territories to nations and establishing their boundaries following the dispersion of humanity. This is after the Tower of Babel and all. The verse meaning hinges on a significant textual variant regarding the phrase, according to the number of the sons of God, and literally the very oldest text is the sons of the gods, both in plural. Sons is plural and gods is plural. And found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in the Septuagint and versions like the ESV and the NLT. This reading suggests each nation was assigned a divine guardian or angelic being, or literally each nation, each tribe, assigned perhaps a different extraterrestrial race. Again, when you look at the children or the sons of Israel, this is found in the Masoretic texts, which is used in the King James Version and the New King James Version. What are the Masoretic texts? Well, this is the revised text. The Masoretes are scribes. What did they do? What was their job? Their job was to continually rewrite these books and edit them. So the older is the sons of the gods. The newer is the children's sons of Israel. So obviously, and as it says, again, sons of the gods is generally considered older and more original. And then when you look again to Plato's Critias, it talks about when the gods left, and it gets into the fall of Atlantis and everything, and it goes into so much more. And again, talks about humans, mankind, being assigned to different beings. And it also lets us know that these gods remove themselves from our view. At one point in time, we saw them just all the time. Everybody knew that these beings were real. They weren't like euphemisms for the forces of nature. They were real. But this also goes into the cycles of destruction, and it touches on the idea of the yugas and the ages. It's very good. There's a lot of good info there if you haven't read it yet. Then we have, again, all of our political efforts to catch people up on the fact that there are other things out there. Congressman Eric Burlison just said the MIT Lincoln Labs just agreed to give Congress a UAP video of the UFO invasion of Washington way back in 1952. After denying it for decades, not only are they saying it happened, but they have videos for it. Holy what?
From Missouri Republican Congressman Eric Burlison. He says MIT Lincoln Labs has agreed to hand over an Air Force video from 74 years ago about a UFO briefing.
They have acknowledged that it exists and that they're in the process of getting it to us. But what my understanding is that and I forget the general's name. He's an Air Force general who is briefing MIT scientists about, I believe it's the event that happened in Washington, D.C. in 1952. So that would be important historical information to have.
Congressman Burleson is referring to a famous series of UFO incidents in 1952, often referred to as the invasion of Washington. In the UFO community, it's right up there with Roswell and the Phoenix Lights. Now, if these revelations today are true, the next several weeks could be groundbreaking, though many of us are still waiting for definitive proof of life beyond Earth.
This is straight out of Disclosure Day. This is why Disclosure Day is happening, because there's outside forces that are pushing the envelope, and the way things are right now, more than one group of what you would call extraterrestrials may just decide to say hi for themselves at any time, out in the open, out in the clear.
Yeah, I think this reminds me of, I was thinking in my head while Mike was playing this clip, I'm thinking, oh, yes, these minor details here. Oh, yeah, we had these old dusty old things sitting on the shelf. What? Nothing to see here. It's no big deal. We'll just sort of slide it on over your way. Yeah, everyone already knew about it, but now they just have to put their old official stamp on it. Like, yep, this is an official conspiracy theory that's been marked true. Yet another one. But I think that's what it is. It's like these beings have been, I think they've been sitting back, just sort of waiting, and they're done waiting. So, our so-called leaders can either speak up or they're going to. I think their back's up against a wall, and that time has run out. Again, minor details.
Yeah, and again, what they've been giving us, it is a lot of truth, but there's going to be a twist. Again, there's going to be distortion and manipulation. And when we were watching Disclosure Day, I loved the movie. I thought the movie was fun. It was really great. It felt good to see. I mean, I just can't wait for the day when it really happens, in earnest, and we all know everything. And it could be also a non-terrestrial group that does show us the truth. That's been put out there too. That they might make it so the sky becomes a screen, and it's all going to show us our true history. But what they're doing right now, I think, is preempting it with a twist to make a certain group look better than they really are.
In the Constitution.
So you're allowed to protect information even from Congress?
I've been told that before, and I've been, that I'd have to be accompanied throughout my career. So that's, I would say that I would hope that no one is lying to Congress. However, I know differently in these hearings.
You do know that people have lied during the hearings?
I know that people have lied, and they've raised. Now,
wait, hold on. Who's lied, and what did they lie about?
Oh, I could never say that.
Why are you not allowed to say that?
No, I wouldn't professionally say that.
But okay.
I mean, we're talking about people who may not know. There's a lot of this going on these days. But let me tell you that there's people who don't know the difference between a lie, an exaggeration, and pure fantasy.
Okay, but just because you've said it, hold on, you've said it. So let's eliminate who didn't lie, because I think that's important to do to them, because you've just put a target on people.
That
So
can't be answered.
Dylan Borland, did he lie?
Oh, I would never say that.
No, you wouldn't say that because it's not true. He didn't lie.
No, I wouldn't say that because I don't know.
Okay, well, that's different. So you know of somebody that lied, but that is not Dylan Borland, correct?
I don't know him at all. No.
Okay, but that's important because you said somebody lied in Congress and you're aware of it. So you're isolating somebody that lied. And it's important to me that we are very clear that that is not George Knapp, not Dylan Borland. Stop me if I'm wrong. Not Senior Chief Wiggins.
That is not those two individuals.
Not Jeff Nusatelli.
Oh, here you're going to go through all the people.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make sure that our audience understands that when you've said somebody particularly has lied in Congress and you know it, but you won't elaborate, that we take the bullseye off of people that I know you're not talking about. So that would be.
There's no bullseye on these people. They've all moved off.
No, they haven't.
Anyway, they're saying perhaps Lou Elizondo had given some not correct info. Again, I think there's a twist. I think, again, when you've been in the alphabet soups, you're always in the alphabet soups. You never leave the alphabet soups. I don't think that really ever happens. So, just recognizing that there can be a lot of disclosure and 90-something% true, but 5% of that being false can give a totally different appearance to motives and the reality of some different ET races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot going on here, and a lot of he said, she said, and things of that nature. But ultimately, I think we're all going to have to decide for ourselves what we truly believe. And I just, I believe what I believe because of what I've seen, not because of what I've heard.
Yeah, from us, it's direct experience, and a lot of you guys have had direct experience too, so you just know. That's it. This is, again, we see a lot of activity around military bases. There was a 17-day series of unidentified objects over Langley that reportedly forced the relocation of fighter jets. They moved fighter jets out of there. They were worried of it. What if there are proxy wars happening on Earth all the time that literally are these different ET groups with their pets, given humans in different governments different toys to play with for many different reasons. Literally, like, for instance, when we talk about the different species that are out there, but before we do that, this is Avi Loeb. Again, he has just been appointed head of the UAP Science Advisory Council to the White House. By the way, he is also, besides being a citizen of the U.S., a citizen of Israel, right?
So that's a very interesting question. It brings up our origin, into focus. We maybe in the future we'll figure it out. We'll realize that we are here because of some interstellar gardener. But it also asks the question of what will we encounter, and that's why I think we should not be too affected by the script of Spielberg's film. He shows images of aliens, but I'm not sure. Now, with respect to specifically Nordics, if I don't know if the U.S. government has bodies, but it may well be that if we're dealing with human-made technologies that were retrieved, there would be different ethnic origins for the pilots, and they refer to it with code names, and one was Nordics. I just haven't seen any direct evidence to indicate these types of aliens are in possession. And I told my colleague at Harvard, Professor Stein Jacobson, who helped me analyze the materials we retrieved from the Pacific Ocean. He's originally from Norway, and he did a DNA test, and he realized that he is a descendant of the Vikings, and he's very proud of that. So I told him, I will defend your ancestry. I will defend it against those who claim that you are extraterrestrial.
Yeah. So, again, when you look back to Deuteronomy 32:9 for Yahweh's, because that's what this is really. There you go. The Berean literal Bible for Yahweh's portion is his. Jacob is the place of his inheritance. So, there's many different beings. And this is what everything gets put into being the Lord. But Yahweh is over the people of Jacob. Just Yahweh. And there's different ones. There were different gods and, worshipped by different groups of people. These were simply beings with more technology. It's really just that simple. In some cases, they were guiding in different ways their own groups that they took possession of.
Indeed.
Yeah, you think back to this. Remember E.T.? It's so simple, so cute, so wholesome, right? E.T. phoned home. He misses home. And it was all about getting him back home so he could go home because he was dying in the Earth's atmosphere. Well, it's interesting, too, when you look to the stories of the Anunnaki when they came here. What did they find when they stayed here for prolonged periods of time? That they aged prematurely and they were not as healthy. They were not made to live on Earth. So this is also part of the decision to create a hybrid species from what's already on Earth. Yet the Gigi, they were on Mars. The Gigi were on Mars. They were, recruited to work here on Earth. They grumbled, they rebelled, they literally threatened Enki's life, and then humans were created to be the new slave species here on Earth. But the reason why the Anunnaki didn't stay here too was because they were prematurely aging, and they were having a hard time with the atmosphere.
Indeed.
This is how it goes, guys. When you look at Predator and Alien and the Alien versus Predator, what we see are very aggressive, negative species. And really, I think what they're also kind of giving us a clue about are some of the reptilian species that are out there. There's many different species, and there's many different types of gray. Gray is a very, very common type of being that we have encountered here on Earth. But when you look at it, again, there are many different gray species. And then there are ones that may be mistaken for gray, but they're not, like the Ebens. When I was 7, I had a visitation by what I would have called an Eben. And it scared the crap out of me. Terrified me. But I saw him as real as day. He basically came right by my bedside, and I couldn't move. I was just transfixed. I was trying to scream, trying to make, noise, trying to call to my parents who were down in the other bedroom at the end of the hall. And I was just there by myself and absolutely terrified. It was a very real experience. I've shared with you guys too. Both of my kids have had experiences as children with different ET type of entities that were visiting them when they were in their youth as well. And my father has shared with me that he had visitations, he had seen them as well. He was, he grew up as a devout Catholic, but he told me, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that aliens are real. And he's seen them. And he never really wanted to go into much more detail than that, though. So when you look at it, the movie Disclosure Day shows that the government's had many different bodies. They've recovered many different vehicles, and there's various ones. There's all different types out there. Again, we have reptilians that live underneath our feet. They're living literally inside the earth. There's all sorts of hybrids. There's, again, grays that are very small. There's grays that are a little bit bigger. Grays can go anywhere from like 3 feet up to like 8 foot, 9 foot tall. I had one December 2017 appear in my bedroom and, was very tall. I would say somewhere between 8 and 9 feet tall, with 3 very, very long fingers. And literally, gosh, its fingers were as long as my forearm and hand combined. Many different species out there. This one's showing the Zeta Orion, tall gray, height 7 feet here. Again, when you look to the Law of One, it talks about the Orion group, because the beings that came from Orion, again, we could connect them to those we call the Anunnaki and the Nibiruans, that have viewed us as more of a slave species than a resource. The Nordics there as well. There are many different species out there, and there's others that look just like us that are not necessarily Nordic. Many, many different types of beings out there, as many as you could think of. They're out there, and it might sound like a comic book thing, but no, I mean, life abounds. That should be obvious. And Disclosure Day, this one woman who used to be a nun and who left is talking to the nun that had tutored her. And, she talks about Genesis. Do you think that God could have created other species? And the nun said, yeah, well, when you look to Genesis, it says that it's just humans are at the peak here on Earth, at the top of the pyramid here on Earth, but that doesn't mean there's not others elsewhere. Yeah, absolutely. And some of these beings are what we would call demonic, and some are also what we would call angelic. That's just the reality.
There's just so many.
There is. I mean, there are so many different ones out there. Lyrans and Syrians, all sorts of reptilians. You have reptilians being distinguished from the Draco. Yeah, the Draco utilize a lot of other reptilians as slave species and worker species. And then you have various insectoid beings as well. There's just about everything you could think of. In fact, when you look at the species that are on Earth, why do we have cats and we have dogs? The reality is there are very advanced cat humanoid beings. There are very, very advanced canine humanoid beings. It's just everything you could almost imagine is probably out there. How many of them do we interact with? Well, in the dark age that we've been in, the Kali Yuga, we've been under the control of that group. Again, it's been called in Law of One, the Orion group. And, in the Sumerian tales, they talk about the Anunnaki and those that come from Nibiru. Nibiru is more like a mothership than a planet right now. It does utilize a literal black hole as a means of propulsion. But there are so many others out there. Oh, man, it's just wild and crazy. Think again, Star Wars. I remember when the cantina scene happened for the first time. When people saw the cantina scene, they were just blown away by the different species. Well, that's how it is, and people don't blink twice when seeing other species, even though some of them may be pretty scary, and maybe other ones not so scary. This looks very much like the being that I saw in my bedroom when I was 7 years old. And he wasn't threatening. He wasn't at all. In fact, Cindy was able to get that he was actually a friend from past lives. We're starting to realize that a lot of things that we've been brought up with thinking that you had no options and you need to do certain things if you were hit with certain health challenges, they might not be the right way to go. And I'm so glad to see that people are looking into natural alternatives. So many things. We were talking about mammograms, and we were talking about colonoscopies and how there may be some negative possibilities from that. Same thing with biopsies. Oh, yes, there are real dangers out there that they don't always tell you. Could it be that some of these groups that are hiding in the shadows literally don't want to see humans joining the opposing side? What if in the long term of things, in the scheme of things, if you have an awakening group of humans on planet Earth, and let's say there really is 8 billion humans on Earth, there may be many less, or maybe there's even more than 8 billion. But if we are truly mutating into something more than what we've been, and if we had the opportunity to learn from some benevolent beings, benevolent to humans, but not necessarily extremely benevolent to the system that's been in charge the last several thousand years, they wouldn't want humans joining their adversary. They would want to eliminate as many humans as possible before the humans could have a chance to learn, grow, and figure out what has really been happening. Could it be that these are proxy wars? What you see going on Earth are literally ET proxy wars, just like NATO and BRICS nations are doing right now.
Mm-hmm. It's a mess out there.
It is. And I'm going to end this with not a dip in the bathtub, but Loka Samasta Suki no Bhavantu, which means may all beings out there be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute to the happiness and freedom of all. And in order to be truly free, you got to know the truth, and humankind will know the truth. The truth is coming.
So thank you guys so much. KK, Mary D, Robbie, Karma Doc, Diana, you guys are wonderful. Thank you to all the moderators, all of your help and support. You guys keep us spoiled and you help us focus on the content. And that's important. That's so important. That's number one. So thank you. And here are some dings. Oh, and thank you for all the happy birthdays. Those are going to be immortalized forever and appreciated forever. Thank you. Here we go. Source bless and namaste.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your birthday wishes and blessings. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.